Hello, I'm Ben. Donald Trump's 2023 tweet once again exposes the core logic of his trade policy unilateralism, zero-sum 博弈, and a fundamental misunderstanding of the global economic order. This policy approach, which weaponizes 125 tariffs as threats and frames suspended retaliation as a concession, not only reflects the barbarism of his political narrative but also highlights the profound disconnect between his economic ideology and the realities of 21st century globalization. Trump's tariff threats are rooted in an America First absolutist hegemony. The accusation that China disrespects global markets essentially equates U.S. interests with global rules, outright rejecting the multilateral negotiation mechanisms under the World Trade Organization (WTO) framework and reducing international trade to a winner-takes-all arena. Historical data reveals that during the 2018 U.S.-China trade war, tariffs imposed on Chinese goods ultimately cost U.S. corporations over $46 billion. With consumers paying an additional $600 per capita tax foundation 2021. Yet the Trump administration's continued obsession with tariffs exposes the poverty of its policy toolkit and the violent tendencies of its decision-making logic. More alarmingly, the narrative of 75 nations refraining from retaliation constitutes a rhetorical trap. By reframing normal trade negotiations as a suzerain-vassal relationship, Trump constructs a neo-colonial discourse. According to the Peterson Institute for International Economics, at least 42 economies implemented countermeasures against the U.S. from 2018 to 2020, affecting over $240 billion in goods. Trump's selective omission of these facts reveals an authoritarian narrative of rewards for compliance. Trump's trade philosophy is steeped in obsolete mercantilist dogma. His equation of trade deficits with national failure and tariffs as tools for wealth accumulation fundamentally contradicts the realities of modern value chain economics. Taking the iPhone as an example, while China handles final assembly, US, Japanese, and South Korean firms capture over 70% of value-added profits. OECD 2019, a 125% tariff would not only target Chinese manufacturers but also devastate the global supply chains of American tech giants like Apple and Qualcomm. This inflict 800 losses on the enemy while suffering 1,000. Oneself strategy exposes a fundamental misreading of contemporary industrial division. His proud reciprocal tariff concept further betrays theoretical bankruptcy in an era of deeply interwoven global value chains. Applying simplistic tariff parity principles is akin to regulating high-speed rail with horse carriage rules. When German auto parts traverse 6 countries and Mexican factories rely on Chinese rare earths, a 10% discount tariff becomes mere political theater. Such thinking fails to address emerging challenges like digital services trade, intellectual property flows, or climate technology transfers, let alone provide global public goods. Amid rapid restructuring of global economic governance, Trump's policies reveal severe anachronism. His fixation on tangible goods tariffs ignores new battlegrounds like digital currencies, carbon border taxes, and data sovereignty. IMF data shows digital services accounted for 62% of global service trade in 2022, with the U.S. enjoying a $38 billion surplus in digital services with China, while the EU prepares carbon border adjustment mechanisms and nations vie for AI standardization power. Obsessing over traditional manufacturing tariffs is akin to wielding cold weapons in the age of smart warfare. His rhetoric also disregards the structural shift of emerging economies' collective rise. The claim of 75 nations negotiating deliberately sidesteps realities like BRICS expansion, ASEAN autonomy, and the African Continental Free Trade Area, reducing the world to a binary US versus the rest, contradicts the Global South's pursuit of strategic autonomy and misunderstands complex interdependencies in a multipolar world. Ivy. Alternative pathways. Building a 21st century trade ethic. True solutions lie in transcending confrontation and establishing a philosophy of co-evolution. This requires one rule: restructuring, modernizing the WTO to cover digital trade, green subsidies, and labor standards, The EU-New Zealand FTA's Sustainable Development Dispute Mechanism offers a model to coopetition balance. In strategic sectors like semiconductors and clean energy, adopt the US-EU Trade and Technology Council model for selective decoupling plus tech alliance mechanisms. 3. Developmental synergy. Align initiatives like the Belt and Road with the Global Infrastructure Investment Plan to integrate trade policy and global development. Breaking the Global South debt trap vs Global North deindustrialization cycle. History proves that 16th century Spanish trade monopolies and 19th century British colonial tariffs could not defy economic laws today as the vision of a community with a shared future for mankind gains traction. Any attempt to sustain unipolar dominance through tariff hegemony will be exposed as a fossilized political fantasy. Global economic governance demands not coercion but civilized dialogue rooted in mutual respect and win-win cooperation, a necessity dictated by economic laws and the irreversible tide of human progress. Thank you.